Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Terry Cole Show. I have a super special guest today. This is more like a girlfriend jam than it is an interview, but it's actually both. Her name is Sabrina Soto, and she is a lifestyle expert and interior designer. She's a TV personality. She is a mom to Olivia, and she has a brand new show on CBS called Redesigning Life with Sabrina Soto. And she also has a really amazing podcast. No. All right, I'm doing that again. Whoever's looking at this, Jesus H. Christ, get it together, Terry. Here we go. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Terry Cole Show. I am so excited for you to get in on this conversation that I am having today with my friend Sabrina Soto. So Sabrina is a lifestyle expert, interior designer. You've seen her on Trading Spaces. She's a TV personality. She has a podcast, that's how I met her, called Redesigning Life with Sabrina Soto. And she has a brand new, super exciting show on CBS called Secret Celebrity Renovation. It really is a feel-good show. So much about her that is so interesting. I hope that you enjoy my interview with Sabrina Soto. Hey, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Terry Cole Show. I'm so excited. So many exciting things. I was telling all the listeners and the viewers at the top, like all the exciting things that you've got going on, but also how we met by doing your amazing podcast. We had so much fun. We couldn't stop talking. Literally, could we stop talking, or we just kept going?
I had to force myself to stop asking you questions.
It was so amazing. So I wanted to, then you know what really happened? Then I was watching Entertainment Tonight, and because I DVR it, and I was like, look at Sabrina co-hosting ET. What? I immediately think I texted you and was like, hello, what is happening? It was so good. So anyway,
and by the way, I'm worse at that because I don't watch the news and I don't really know pop culture. So it's like everything that we're talking about, I'm like, who, what, who?
You're like, my child is small. I know only small pop culture.
Exactly. Talk to me about Peppa Pig and I'll know.
Exactly. Anyway, so for those of you who are podcasters, Redesigning Life with Sabrina Soto is Sabrina's podcast where you can get it. So let's just take it from the top, shall we? Tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing, because really you are an interior, you do so many things. You work with energy, you manifest, but you're really a designer, like an interior decorator. You do all kinds of stuff. So how did you get to this place?
It's sort of wild. My friend, oh my gosh, now going on, it was 2006, told me about this documentary that just been released, which is The Secret. Before I'd watched this, I was doing design and I was doing TV work, but I never did them together. And she kept telling me, you need to watch this. And it sounded like a bunch of woohoo BS to me. So I kind of kept pushing her off. And then one night, I was married at the time. My husband was working late and I said, I might as well just like watch this thing on the computer. So I like propped up a pillow in my office. And the only time then you could watch it was you paid $4 and something cents to watch it on the computer. So I watch it, and Terry, it was as if somebody lit something up inside of me, because I don't know if I knew it before and it was reintroduced to me, but right then and there, I knew that the law of attraction was real. So that my then husband came home and I was like, I'm going to be on TV doing design. And he thought I'd lost my mind. The next day, I couldn't sleep and I woke up and I found a job listing on Craigslist. And they were looking for a designer that had TV experience. And it didn't say it was for HGTV. Lo and behold, 16 weeks later from that moment, I had my first show on HGTV. I was on set filming. So it's wild. And I try to tell my friends this, and it's hard because it seems like it's too easy to just think things through and manifest. And I'm not saying that I didn't then change my life. After I watched it, I sent out my information for that job posting, but I didn't hear anything for a while. But every day I was going to the gym. I started like shopping for on-set camera. And Terry, I didn't even have an agent. I didn't even have a way of getting a job, but something inside of me just knew it was coming. So that when it came and I was finally offered the job, I felt the confidence to take the job because I felt good. physically, I felt good mentally. And I think, well, I don't want to say I think, I know that's why it was so successful, because I changed everything in my life in order to make that opportunity happen.
Wow, my mind is blown right now. I had such a very similar experience with The Secret, and you and I never even talked about that.
No,
Where I
never.
saw it and I literally lost my mind. I don't think I slept for 2 nights. I felt like I was on drugs. I was like, this is how I knew it was. This is
Yes.
how I believe this. And I did really very similar. You know, it's interesting though, you make this great point, Sabrina, that, what's his name from Thoroughly Unique Thoughts?
Mike
You know,
Dooley.
yes. So Mike says, right, it's of course feeling the feeling of having the thing, imagining the thing, living as if it's happening as you take steps every day to make your dreams come true. So I think that I know what you mean about the magical element of like, is this just wishful thinking? Well, I guess if you sat on your couch and ate bonbons, it would be.
Right.
And yet you didn't. You went forward and felt and saw as if it could be real. That's just such a beautiful manifesting story. And I was watching, you did a great interview with Lee Harris, who's actually a friend of mine as well, about manifesting. And that's why I knew I wanted to sort of hit it at the top of this, because it's something that is so, I think that for some people, it seems out there or like, well, you're the lucky one and you're the chosen one. And the reality is you chose yourself.
That's right. Wait, okay. So I hope you've cleared the rest of the day for this podcast, because I have so much to talk about. But now what brings it back to me finding you is this story is about how it can go opposite. So I was in a rut in my life after kind of COVID hit, which I know everybody else was, but I was also back and forth with this really unhealthy relationship that I could not get rid of. And I found you through Mark Groves, because you guys were doing like codependency and all these workshops together. And I finally, Terri, last year, let go of that situation. And again, got my life back. I stood up for myself. I got the confidence. And I was just on the phone with my sister before you and I got on this podcast. And I was telling her, I can't believe how my life has changed so drastically again in the last year, because I finally stood up for myself and created the life that I wanted to. So again, you helped me get here. And it goes to show that just because you find this information doesn't mean it always goes up. You are going to still have a roller coaster in your life, and sometimes you're going to feel lost, but you could always find your way back.
So amazing. And what you're really talking about with getting to the point in that relationship where you stood up for yourself is you found the internal boundary strength to let go in a real way, to know that you deserved more than what was happening there, because it is complicated to get out of those very up and down compelling relationships. We know there's trauma bonding, there's all kinds of things that make it super compelling to stay. And then so much of what we talked about in your podcast was boundaries.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions for you. So you are first generation Cuban American. Is that
both my parents are from Cuba?
So tell me, how do you think being Cuban and being first generation has impacted your life here in the US?
I think, it's funny. My parents, I didn't grow up with Dr. Seuss and all of these like pop culture that a lot of my friends did. Like my mom used to send me to school with a cantina, which was like basically stacked like pork, rice, and beans. And so I didn't have like a normal upbringing that my friends did. But I think because my parents realized that they came to this country again with nothing, they had to leave everything behind. I saw how hardworking both of them were. And there's good and bad with that, because I was raised to believe you have to pound the pavement. You have to work hard. It's, 80-hour-a-week work weeks you should be proud of. And the older I get and the more I read about quantum physics and the law of attraction and I listen to new thought teachers, I realize it doesn't have to be that difficult. Yes, you should have inspired thought and inspired action, but you don't have to work 80 hours a week in order to be successful. And that's what I'm sort of deprogramming even at my age now.
Yep. Yeah, it really does make sense because culturally, because my husband is first generation American from, Hungarian, and same thing, same kind of work ethic. And it's such a struggle to get him to see that sometimes staying in bed on Sunday for 4 hours is actually doing something.
Right. I know. I can't. To this day, I'm 44 years old. I can't take a nap. I can't. I won't, like, my body would just be like, no, that's lazy. And I'm still trying to give myself a break.
So you have a daughter, Olivia.
Yeah.
So freaking cute. How old is she?
She's 5. She just started school yesterday. She's 5 going on 45. That No, I'm in trouble. This kid is too smart. She is a firecracker. She's just wonderful. I always tell my friends I take no credit in how amazing she is, because I feel like she came to this earth as this old soul.
Well, what we're going to say, it's a little bit of nature, a lot of nature, and a little bit of nurture. Got to be a teeny bit of nurture in there. Okay, so I just wanted to bring her up because I was just looking at pictures, just adorable. So because you're a working mom, so
Yeah.
for you, trying to work smarter, not harder, right? Right. So we're not doing 80 hours a week unless we must. What do you want to impart to Olivia about the kind of life that she can create for herself?
I've already started to teach her about law of attraction. I speak to her, and I always have, as if she is my counterpart, instead of speaking to her like she's a little baby and only. So
Yep.
even last night I was putting her to bed, and it was her first day of school, and she said, Mom, I just don't think that I fit in. And I had a long talk with her about how fitting in isn't necessarily a good thing at all. It's great to be unique, and that I've never fit in, and that's why I'm really proud of who I've become. So I I treat her with respect, and in that I speak. Our conversations are much more, I guess, serious sometimes in nature. In that way that I think most, from what I hear, most parents for a 5-year-old don't talk about. But she can handle it, and I see her actually being able to comprehend things that I tell her.
What's so interesting about the way you just described that? So you treat her with respect. You talk to her like she's smart, right? And this is, I can tell you, growing up, I always described my own mother as being that same way. And I can tell you what it instilled for me was, I believed from a very early age that what I thought mattered, how I felt mattered, and that it should matter to the people who will have the privilege of being in my life, that I'm not to be like, if your parent is not condescending, right, to a kid. And of course, we're not talking about telling them inappropriate things. It's about just treating
So
them like,
yes, right.
as they're sovereign in a way, right? They are their own human. And that definitely, as much as, of course, I had my own life cycle of growth and these big growth spurts where life is painful, but still in the back of the mind, there is that sense of value of like, yeah, like if you're going to be in my life, then you should care about how I feel, So I think
Right.
that's a very beautiful thing that you're planting in her right now. All right, moving
Well,
into.
check in with me when she's like 16.
Oh yeah, no.
We'll see what kind of conversations I'll be having with her.
Yeah, 16 to 20 is probably going to be hell, no matter what you instill, because
Oh,
it's just their job to
yeah.
separate and individuate. They must do it. They do it with anger because it's too threatening and painful to do it with kindness and love. So the only way they would do it is by like turning into these little know-it-alls sometimes, and mouthy, and like, just all I remember from raising kids with Vic is that when each one of them was a particular age, we were like the dumbest, most uncool parents who ever existed. They'd be like, "You're so bougie." I was like, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. I was like, call each other babe, so corny. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I guess. I was like, maybe you're doing a good job if when your kid is 18 or 17, they think you're corny, right?
That's fine. Yes, I'll take it.
That's what I'm saying. Just don't do anything criminal, please. That's all
There you go.
that's all I
Yeah.
was thinking at the time. I want to talk about, I'm so excited. I want to say congratulations for this new gig that you have that looks so amazing. It's Secret Celebrity Renovation. Is that the name of the new show?
Yes, yes. So it's on CBS on Friday nights. And basically, we take celebrities back to either where they grew up, or usually where they grow up, to either parents, family members, or like a teacher, somebody who really changed their life. And we give them a home renovation. But it's fun because the celebrity actually helps in the process. So it's sort of comical to see a lot of these celebrities who've never even picked up a hammer kind of get dirty. But it's been fun. It's fun because it's what I do, which is home renovation, but it's also heartfelt too. So I feel like it's a double whammy of a show.
It's exactly what we need though right now. Like when I saw the concept, I was like, oh, a feel good
Yes.
something, giving back something. So for you, who's choosing? Like, how do you choose who's getting renovated?
The celebrity chooses who they want to give back to. But yeah, you're right. I feel like it's what we need now. And it's a program that the entire family can sit and watch and get a payoff at the end. That's really heartwarming.
Unbelievable. All right, let's go back to boundaries for a moment, because of course that really doesn't need to be up while I'm interviewing you. Why?
Yes,
You can tell my setup is always the same, where it's just right there. Let's talk a little bit about, for you, what would you say has been maybe the most challenging boundary situation that you've been in, and that you've overcome, or have you overcome it?
I think after I read your book, I started to realize how much of a people pleaser I am, and how much and you spoke about this in your book, sort of like I used it as a badge of honor that people needed me all the time, and people came to me all the time, and everybody always needed my advice, which is draining too. And so now I'm getting better. I am not cured, but I am getting better at stopping and realizing that it's okay to not to be available at all times for everyone. That it's okay to take time for myself, and create those boundaries in my life. Because I started to realize that, and I know this is going to sound weird, but English is my second language, so bear with me. But people's attitude, they're contagious. And when people are constantly coming and needing advice, and they're in a negative space, it does sort of rub off on me, and even if I don't think it does. So that has been changing lately, and being able to just say no when I don't feel comfortable, and being able to say when something's makes me uncomfortable, which in my line of work, being on construction sites and renovation, it's a man's world. And if I say things, I was normally laughed at, or just, really sarcastically said, things were said like I didn't know what I was talking about. And now I feel like I put a boundary down, like, no, it's not okay for you to talk to me like that.
Amazing. And how does that shift how you feel about yourself, having that ability?
Again, it's ever since I picked up your book, I'm just more aware. And I'm not going to tell you that sometimes I'm not scared. Sometimes I'm scared, and I'm worried. I don't know if you said it, or a holistic psychologist, of like the moment that you say, well, I don't want them to think, is
Yes,
the
me.
moment. It was you, Terri, man. I am telling you, that happens. I didn't realize all the time. I don't want them to think. And at that moment you said that you abandon yourself. You're right. And it happens more than I'm willing to admit. So it's still a work in progress.
Listen, we're all a work in progress. And what I like to impart, I love that whole the story that you have, this arc of being able to do it, even if you feel uncomfortable, because part of the realization in that is that you're not that fragile, right? The moment you're thinking, or I'm thinking, because of course I still think that, because I'm a human being and we're nice people. So I will have a moment and I'll say, oh, I hope they don't feel. And then immediately I'll go, get back on your own side of the street, because how they feel, even if you didn't do anything wrong,
Problem, not your
right?
problem.
Right. Not my problem. And it shouldn't dictate what I'm saying. And it doesn't dictate what makes you comfortable or uncomfortable, right? You're still uncomfortable. It just is dictating whether we discuss it or don't discuss it. But there's something so liberating. And it does bring you also to the next level. All right. The last thing I want to ask you about, because my mind is still literally, I can't even blown about The Secret connection of the movie The Secret. And those of you young people, I mean, I can't imagine you don't know what it is. Maybe you don't, but if you haven't, go watch it.
Go watch it. It's free on Netflix. Go watch it.
Oh my God. So those people who are into manifesting, and I am as well, because it got such a bad rap and was used so much, like I just stopped using that language to describe it, because it seemed so like everyone was talking about manifesting, and everyone who didn't really understand what I was saying was like, oh, that's just magical thinking. And I was like, but it's not.
It's not.
It's creative thinking.
It's not even just that, it's quantum physics. And we are all energy. We're all on a frequency. We're all on a vibration. And that's not me being like a hippie. That is science. Look, the opposite of a hippie. So it's just science. Really, it boils down to just that.
Yes. So what other things or what other tools do you have in your tool belt as you are creating what's next in your life or whatever? What do you do as part of your manifesting?
First, I have these, and I think they're on my Instagram feed. I have these suction cups that are on my shower wall. I have a glass door. And I think they're like made for stores to say open and close, but I put my vision board on both sides. So when I'm taking a shower, I look at everything I want it to create in my life. And when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, at night, and in the middle of the day sometimes, I see it on the other side because it's both sides. That I do in the morning when I have coffee. It's a thing that Olivia and I do. She has breakfast, I have coffee, and I write down, we both write down 3 things that we are grateful for. So that's how I start my day in the morning, which is great. And then I meditate. To me, meditation has changed my life. I wish I did it more. I used to, just lately I've been traveling. I'm making excuses when there's really no excuse, but meditation and quieting my mind has helped me immensely.
So awesome. So, because it's funny, I've been talking about doing another vision board, like a lot of the things on the board I had. Of course, you don't realize how much power there is in this until you look back at an old vision board or a list of things that I want to create.
Wait,
have you ever done that?
I found this book called Creative Visualization. I mean, I'm talking, this is 15 years that I wrote this ago. I don't know how I still have it because I've moved so much, but I came across it the other night. Terry, I couldn't believe, I have chills again, that I had written way before my HGTV show that I was going to have my own design show, that I was like all these weird things that I had. Oh, and that I was going to have a house in California with a pool. And I live in California and I have a pool. But this was like when I lived in DC and I had just like nothing, no reason to think that I could make these things happen. So yes, sorry to cut you off, but it is so powerful to look back at things and just be like, holy SHI, you know what? I cannot believe that I just created that.
Well, let's just get inspired. So those of you watching and listening, let's just all make vision boards. It's so 2010 and I love it so much. I'm due for a new vision board. And let's just keep each other in check about what happens for those things that we put on the vision board. So do you just cut stuff out of magazines? Like, what do you do?
Well, I was going to give your viewers a little tip. So if you have pages or a computer program where you can copy and paste, I find it so much easier to look at logos and pictures, and I copy and paste it to one page, and then I print it out a few times, and then I have them at multiple places.
Such a good idea, because I'm not. There's just the whole other thing. Who has magazines? It's like I was like, how am I going to make it? Now I know. So you get it online, print that out, and then put them, or you just make it in one thing online. You're saying one.
Yeah, just make it one page. I usually do a page that I can print out. I have one right here next to me. Here, I'll show you.
I want to see it for those of you watching this on YouTube.
I'll show you my vision board. So
Yes,
this
girl.
is mine. I even wait on this. week out, one thing, but like I'll put pictures of what I want. And then I print it out a few times. So I have this upstairs twice. I have it here in my office. And then what's great, it's like, I'll put the date on it. So then I'll make one every year and then I'll know and I keep it saved in my computer.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm going to be tapping you for advice, but I'm so making one. So those of you who watching, listening, you can watch the new show on Friday nights. It's
CBS.
right, CBS. What time does it come on? Tell me.
8 o'clock.
Okay. It's called Secret Celebrity Renovation. So exciting. If you haven't, tune in also to the podcast though, because I really, really love your podcast. So for those, where can they find your podcast? Tell us.
Everywhere where podcasts are, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and you should listen. Mike Dooley was actually a guest too. So we talked all about the whole manifestation process. So you should listen to that episode. And of course, listen to Terry's episode too.
It was so good. Oh my God. That's so funny that you mentioned Mike Dooley. I actually went to a wedding of Jessica Ortner got married a couple of years ago in, the people who did the tapping solution.
Yes.
So she's the sister in that. Anyway, we go to this wedding in Mexico, Vic and I knew, listen, I was always kind of friendly with Mike, like way back in the day when Chris Carr and I just first started with our stuff. Mike was kind of just starting with his stuff. And I got the note from the universe that I loved so much that I just started sharing it with everyone in the world. Anyone, I was like, everyone has to sign up for this thing. And then I kept blogging about it on Chris's blog. This is before I had my own thing. And he was like, oh, that's so nice. I put Mike Dooley on my vision board at the time, and his assistant eventually, and I had no connection to him. Do you know what I mean? He was just like, I was just a fan. And out of nowhere, his assistant gets in touch with me and is like, Mike is so appreciative of how much you were, sharing about him. We would just love to support you. And I was like, oh my God, check, it's on my vision board. And so when I saw him, we just got to the campus where the wedding was going to be. And I saw him, I fangirled out in such an embarrassing way. I think I jumped on him. I was like, oh my God, Mike Dooley, it's Terry Cole.
He's like, get that all the time.
He definitely does. He's so cute. I have like 15 pictures of me and him. I'm like, oh my God, my new best friend, Mike Dooley. Anyway, but it really changed my life in seeing him in The Secret. The way that he presented was something that I could just understand. He said something that was really, I think it was him who said this, but somebody said this. And if you've watched it, you'll know, where when you get a big bill in the mail, he says to yell out, good thing I'm rich. So I used to, when Vic and I were broke, 20 something years ago, kids in just no money. He would just hear me downstairs out of nowhere yelling, good thing we're rich. He'd be like, why do you keep yelling that? I'm like, because Mike Dooley says, just fake it till you make it, sister.
And to this day, Olivia and I were at the mall the day before school started to get her a new outfit. And I saw a penny on the floor and I picked it up and I told her any amount of money to always pick it up and thank the universe, because it just creates it coming back more.
I love it. I love it. We could go on forever, but we will not, because you have a life to live and so do I. But thank you, my friend. I really appreciate this. So where can people find you? At your website?
Yes, you can find me on sabrinasoto.com. I'm always on Instagram and reading DMs. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook too.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let's do this again.
Yes.